All right, so welcome in everybody. You are now in the Life in Columbus webinar hosted by The Ohio State University. We're going to give everybody a couple of minutes to get added into the webinar, so just sit tight. We'll begin here in 2 to 3 minutes. All right, if you're just now joining us, we're going to give our guests a few more minutes to join the webinar. So just sit tight. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, we'll give everybody about 1 more minute to join the webinar before we get started here. All right, let's go ahead and get started here today. So welcome to Life in Columbus webinar. My name is Annabelle. I work for Ohio State Undergraduate Admissions. I know that you have probably been sitting on a couple other webinars about the Ohio State experience, but we're going to shift a little bit today and talk about your time in the city that surrounds the Ohio State University's campus. All right, so first things first, welcome. This webinar, again, is we're going to be more focused on the Columbus experience. We're going to try our best to bring the Columbus experience to you. So we recognize a lot of you had planned to visit this spring, and unfortunately that was canceled due to the nationwide circumstances surrounding the coronavirus. So we're going to try our best to bring Columbus to you. You will have the opportunity to interact with us in addition to us presenting on Columbus. So first, I want to go through what we're going to be presenting on. We're going to be talking about City of Columbus and general facts, getting around Columbus. So how do you get to the city from campus, things to do in Columbus, and then internship and job opportunities. Like I said, you are going to have the opportunity to ask questions during this webinar. However, I'm going to ask that if you have a question regarding one of those 4 topics, you wait until we get to that topic, because we might actually answer that question in the webinar. Additionally, we recognize that you might have other questions still regarding your financial aid, housing, dining, paying your acceptance fee, and that's fine. We ask that you email that to askabuckeye@osu.edu. All right, so like I said, this is going to be an interactive webinar where you'll have the ability to ask us questions. At the bottom of your screen, you should see 2 buttons, one black button that says Q&A and one that says chat. We're going to ask that you ask your questions through that Q&A button there. We do have some other admissions staff members that are going to be answering those questions from behind the scenes. We do typically get a high volume of questions, so please be patient. There is an opportunity when someone asks a question that you should be able, and it's a question that you have, that you should also indicate you have that question, so it moves it to the top, so we know that's a priority question to be answered among a lot of students. There is also a chat button for the questions portion. We will not be using the chat. You should really only use this if you're having tech issues, if you can't see a screen or you can't hear the presenter. Also know that all of this is public, so if you have any personal or sensitive questions that you need asked, again, send that directly to askabuckeye@osu.edu, and we can address that privately with you. All right, so it's not just me today. Again, my name is Annabelle Kinsel. I am a program coordinator with the Visits and Events. Actually, my job is to plan the events that you all were supposed to attend this spring. So I definitely miss you and miss seeing you all on campus. But again, we're hoping to bring that Columbus experience to you today. I'm also a certified tourism ambassador, which means that the city of Columbus has certified me and says that I'm qualified to tell you about Columbus. Also helping me out today is Caitlin James. She is an admissions counselor on the West Coast, so she lives in California. She's going to be helping answer some questions today. And then we also have 3 current Ohio State students that are going to talk to you about their experience living in Columbus. So let's go ahead and start with Cameron, and you 3 can introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. Like Annabelle said, my name is Cameron McCall. I am a 4th year graduating in a few weeks, studying public management, leadership, and policy in the Glenn College of Public Affairs. And I'm from Huntley, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Maria Murphy. I'm a 4th year student as well. I'm currently studying early childhood education with a minor in disability studies, and I'm originally from Grandview Heights, Ohio, which is right here in Columbus.
Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca. I am a 3rd year and I am studying English education with minors in Spanish and nonprofit management, and I am from Chicago, Illinois, in specifically Glenview, which is a northern suburb.
Thank you. So we'll be calling on these panelists to ask them to share their own experience. Our goal with this, again, is to give you a few facts about Columbus, but then really engage with our current students and talk about how they experience Columbus and just how it enhances their experience at Ohio State. All right, so welcome to Columbus. We do recognize that there's going to be multiple levels of people. Some people have been to Columbus numerous times. Maybe people have already visited campus but didn't get to see the city beyond campus. And then some of you may have never stepped foot in Columbus, Ohio. So a few things about Columbus. We are the capital city of Ohio. We are the 14th largest city in the United States. That makes us larger than Denver, Nashville, and Seattle. We have a population in the city alone of a little over 890,000 and a metro population of over 2 million. Forbes magazine named Columbus as the #1 opportunity city in the United States, and Fox News named it the top 5 cities for graduates. Something that we think is unique to Columbus and we're excited for you to experience is the Midwest hospitality in our city. So if you're not from the Midwest, Midwesterners have a reputation of just being really warm and welcoming, and that's the vibe that Columbus gives off. We're very open and accepting community. We are a diverse community, and we hope that when you come visit us, you feel that Midwest hospitality, you feel welcome, and you feel like you're family here. All right, so again, probably a lot of you aren't too familiar with Columbus unless you actually live in the city. So let's talk about where you are in relation to the university. So right there, this is a map of the city of Columbus. And today we're going to touch on just a few areas that are going to be easily accessible to our students. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of suburbs and different neighborhoods in Columbus that are a lot of fun to explore, but today we really want to touch on ones that are easy for you to get to and also have affordable activities for you. So there at the top, you see the University District. Just directly south is going to be the short north. This is our arts, our cultural arts district. And you can see it's actually on the same street. So High Street right there is the main street that goes through Columbus. As you can see, it starts through Worthington, goes through Clintonville, down through campus, runs straight through campus, through the short north, and then through downtown. So basically, if you take High Street from campus and keep going south, you're going to end up right in the short north. Then after the short north, directly after the short north, High Street turns into more of that downtown area. That's going to have more of the skyscrapers. It also has our arenas. There's an area down there we'll be talking about later called the Arena District. Lots of restaurants. Towards the end of downtown is where you'll see the Scioto River. We'll talk about that as well. And then a little bit further south is going to be German Village, which is a really unique neighborhood. It was actually originally settled by German immigrants. And so it's got a really cool old world feel. There's cobblestone streets and brick buildings. It's got a lot of great restaurants and activities for you as well. And again, it's easily accessible from campus. So we know that a lot of our listeners today are from all over the United States, maybe even from different parts of the world. And so for some of you might not even understand where Columbus is in relation to the rest of the country. So that red star there in the middle of Ohio, that's Columbus. And then around it are some of the bigger cities that are in close proximity to Columbus. So as you can see, there's 5 cities there: Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh, that are all less than 200 miles away. That makes them less than 3 hours away. Some of the bigger cities, Chicago is about a 5.5 to 6 hour drive. And Washington, D.C. and New York City are more along the lines of 7 or 8, but certainly drivable from Columbus. And so because of that, you see our students taking advantage of the activities in Columbus, but also using that proximity to those other bigger cities to explore other cities in the United States. And I know that some of our panelists have taken this opportunity. So Cameron, do you want to talk about your experience?
Sure. So my freshman year, I was in Mountain Leadership Society Scholars Program. And for our spring break, a group of us, it was organized through our Scholars Program, a group of us were going to Washington, D.C. to meet with the campus representatives in Congress, as well as just to learn more about our nation's capital as a group interested in leadership and service. And so we rented a minivan, 2 minivans, and our group drove from Columbus to Washington, D.C. Along the way, we got to stop and see Gettysburg. And then when we were in D.C., we stayed together in a hotel, had a really good time getting to explore the city together. And this was all within, I think, a 3-day trip. So big cities around Columbus are generally very accessible, and it doesn't have to be a big production or a week off of school. You can do it pretty quickly.
Thanks, Cameron. All right, so now that you know where you are, let's talk about how you get around our city. So first things first, the question we always get asked is, can first-year students bring a car to campus? And the answer to that question is no. And to clarify, we're not saying that you're absolutely forbidden to drive around campus, or you have to sell your car to attend Ohio State. But what we mean is that first-year students are not eligible for a campus parking permit. There's no place to keep your car on campus. Another question that we get asked are things, we know that a lot of you are coming in with some credit, some college credit plus, maybe some AP credit that might make you almost a second or maybe even third year in your college. However, that does not apply to the status when it comes to housing, and also if you would be permitted to bring a car on campus. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. The first exception would be for a commuter student. So being a commuter student, there is a specific range of mileage that you would be considered a commuter student, and then living at home. You would be permitted to purchase a permit and park on campus. And then there are exceptions as well for things like medical exemptions. If you believe that you would be eligible for one of these exceptions, you'll actually need to reach out to our parking department, which is campuspark@osu.edu. So since you're not able to drive a car around campus, how do you get around? It's actually very easy to get around Columbus. And like we talked about before, the things that we're going to show you today are going to be very easily accessible by our Ohio State students. So first things first is our city bus system. We call it COTA. It's the Central Ohio Transit Authority. At the beginning of each semester and the required fees that students pay, you pay a small fee that goes to COTA that actually allows you to use the city bus system for free simply by swiping your Buck ID. So this city bus system goes to the Arena District downtown through the Short North. It goes to German Village. It also goes out to the airport. It goes out to Easton if you want to go shopping. So this is a great way to get around campus. A lot of our students also like to use ride shares like Uber and Lyft. Ohio State does have a Lyft partnership that Ohio State students are able, from the hours of 9 o'clock p.m. to 3:30 a.m., are able to take a discounted Lyft from a certain area near campus. There's also options on Zip Car, which is a short-term rental car that would also be accessible for students as well. And you can easily download an app that basically has you all set up. And then if you just need to use a car for 2 or 3 hours, there's Zip Cars on campus that you can rent through that app and then take grocery shopping, or you know, if you want to go to Hocking Hills for the day, you could use the Zip Car. All right, so now you know how to get around, but the question is, how do you get home? So first things first, especially for Ohio students, it's like we showed earlier, it's easy to get home to the Cleveland areas, to the Cincinnati areas. Any drive in Ohio is really going to be only about 2 or 3 hours. So most students, family members or friends either come pick them up or they share rides home. That being said, if you live a little further away, the John Glenn International Airport is about 10 miles away from campus. You can access that through the CODA bus, or a lot of students prefer to do a ride share like Uber or Lyft. There's also a Greyhound station downtown that has Greyhound buses going in and out that you could take a bus home. And then on some of the bigger holiday breaks, our undergraduate student government sponsors bus trips to the bigger cities. So let's say you live in a suburb of Pittsburgh, you could take that holiday break bus to Pittsburgh and then your family could come pick you up. A note though that those typically fill up fast, so if that is something that you're interested in, you'll definitely want to sign up for that immediately. All right, so now we've talked about the logistics. Let's talk about all the fun things to do in Columbus. So first things first is the Columbus food scene. Columbus has been nationally recognized as an emerging food scene. There's over 50 independently owned restaurants in downtown Columbus alone. This is one of my favorite parts about living in Columbus. So I just picked a few. That first picture up in the corner is Condado Tacos. That's really close to campus, right on High Street in the short north, actually walkable. It's only maybe 4 or 5 blocks from the Ohio Union. The next picture right next to it are some lovely pastries from Fox in the Snow Cafe. It's a beautiful coffee shop on Summit, which is just 4 blocks east of High Street, so also very walkable for you as a student. That picture at the beginning of the first row, North Market, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the North Market is very unique to Columbus. It's a Columbus gem. There's 30 different food vendors in there. And so all different sorts of foods, different types of ethnic foods, different produce that you can buy. If you're stopping in Columbus, you definitely need to stop by the Columbus Market. Marcella's is one of my favorite restaurants. I always like to recommend people to eat at Marcella's. This is in the short north, so again, you can access that. You could walk it. It would probably be 30 to 40 minutes because it is more towards the end of the short north on High Street. But again, a lot of students will take that CODA bus or take an Uber or Lyft there. Marcella's is old world Italian food, and so if you go there while you're visiting, definitely get the meatball. It's the size of a softball. It falls apart. It's so tender. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. And then that last picture on the side is Schmidt's Sausage House. That's part of German Village. Again, kind of that more old-timey feel. They make homemade sausage, and then they're actually known for that cream puff, which is what she's holding there. So if you ever do get a chance to stop by Schmidt's, I highly recommend at least indulging in a cream puff. So one of the first things that people do when they find that you're new to Columbus is recommend where you should eat and what you should have. So I know our panelists are going to want to share that too. So let's go ahead and start. Cameron, do you want to kick it off?
I was worried I was going to be first. I was trying to decide. So I'm also a really big fan of the Columbus food scene. One of my favorite places to eat in the short north is Bakersfield. They're also a kind of another taco place really, but they have really, really good tacos. They're pretty authentic, and also incredible queso. I stand by the best queso in Columbus, so definitely check that out.
I do second that queso. Maria, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can go ahead. Wasn't sure who was going next either. So my favorite place to eat in Columbus is actually Filio. It's like a really tucked in kind of hidden gem in Columbus where if you want to venture a little bit outside, that short north area, it's a little outside of there, but they have such amazing food. It's kind of like Italian inspired, and I love going there for birthdays with my friends. And my personal favorite that they have is a chicken and mushroom ravioli, and anything pasta or like oven fire pizza you can think of, they have at Filio.
So my favorite is actually in the short north. Also, I just take the bus down there. It's called Melt, and it's basically this amazing grilled cheese place, but it's not just your classic grilled cheese. There are all these different, meats or sauces or cheeses, everything you can possibly imagine they have there. And my favorite is definitely their mac and cheese grilled cheese because it's like everything in one and just incredible. I always try and take friends that are visiting down to that restaurant because it's nice and affordable and more of a casual setting. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, so I'm glad Rebecca talked about affordable because while there are all of these restaurants, we know that you're also going to be on a budget. So there's a couple of ways that you can enjoy these restaurants while still saving money. So the first is that 2 times a year, Columbus offers a Columbus Restaurant Week where participating restaurants will offer a 2 or 3 course menu for $30 or less. So this is a great way to try out a restaurant that you haven't before. Get a full meal there for, again, $30 or less. The other way is to stop by the Ohio Union and pick up gift cards through DTIC. So Ohio State students are eligible for a program called DTIC. We'll talk about this throughout this entire webinar. But DTIC basically allows students to enter drawings for either discounted or free gift cards to Columbus restaurants. So for example, last semester, I won $20 to the North Market, but I only had to pay $5 to use it. So definitely something to check out. And again, that's available to all Ohio State students. All right, so let's talk about the arts and music in Columbus. Columbus has some fantastic performing arts and visual arts going on. So there's way too many to talk about here, but we just kind of want to highlight a few options for you. Music, we've got a couple of big live music venues. Both of these Express Live and Nationwide Arena, that's Nationwide at the bottom down there. Those are going to be our bigger performance venues. Also the Schottenstein Center, which is right on campus. We also have a lot of big names coming through there like Pink, Justin Timberlake, Elton John is playing at Nationwide Arena towards the end of summer. So we do get some big names in there, but actually some of my favorite live music venues are going to be the smaller ones that are spread all throughout Columbus. So this is going to be my pro tip to you. Avenue, so just south of campus, there's a place called Natalie's, and it is a jazz and wood-fired pizza place. And so they have really great pizza, but actually my pro tip to you is they do a fantastic brunch on Sundays with live jazz. So if you're looking for something to do on a Sunday, you can go to Natalie's. It's on 5th Avenue. It's walkable from campus and enjoy some great brunch and live music to kick off the last day of your weekend. As far as the performing arts go, again, Columbus has a lot of different options for you. We have Broadway in Columbus series put on by CAPA, that's the Columbus Area Performing Arts Association, where we get big top Broadway shows, and they perform in the Ohio Theater. That's that picture up there at the top. We also have the Columbus Symphony. A little bit further downtown is the King Performing Arts Complex. We have Opera Columbus and Ballet Met. And a really cool thing, again, for these concerts that are coming through Columbus or these shows that are coming to the Ohio Theater is you can also get these discounted or free tickets through DTIC. So each month, DTIC will put up the different performances they're going to be offering these discounted tickets to, and you can go see a Broadway show for $15. Then for the visual arts, we have the Columbus Museum of Art, again, downtown, accessible by the CODA bus. Fun fact here is the Columbus Museum of Art on Sundays. So if you're looking for something to do to get off campus to finish out your weekend, definitely stop by the Columbus Museum. I know that some of our panelists have definitely taken advantage of all of these opportunities for arts and music in Columbus. Rebecca, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yes, of course. I have definitely been to my share of concerts, but I think my favorite experience was with Broadway in Columbus. This past fall, I got to see Dear Evan Hansen with two of my friends. If you know that musical, I highly recommend. It's amazing. If you don't, look into music. I am in love with it, and it's just a really great story. So it was cool to just take the Coda bus downtown, and we actually ate at a condado that was right near there for dinner and headed on in. It was just an amazing time to experience Broadway in Columbus.
And again, I can't push DTICS enough when you get to Ohio State, but this is a program that is available to all Ohio State students to get these discounted or free tickets to events that are going on in Columbus and really get you out there and experiencing something new. All right, so let's talk about sports. So believe it or not, even though sometimes we may not realize that the Ohio State Buckeyes aren't the only sports team in Columbus. So Columbus also has 3 other professional sports teams. The first are the Columbus Clippers. That's going to be up at the top. They are a minor league baseball team. They are a farm team for the Cleveland Indians. They play at Huntington Park in the Arena District. So again, just south of the Short North, you can take a bus, a cab there. You could walk. It'll probably be about a 45 to 50-minute walk. So I would recommend looking into some kind of ride share or taking the bus down there. Beneath that is, again, Nationwide Arena, except here we're seeing a hockey game instead of a concert. So Nationwide Arena is home of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Fun fact, they are not named after some sort of blue bumblebee. They're actually named after the Union soldiers who fought in the Civil War that wore blue jackets. And on the site of Nationwide Arena, there was a large military uniform factory. So it's fun. Every time they score a goal, they launch off a cannon and wave the Ohio flag. And they're a lot of fun there too. Again, for both the Columbus Clippers and for the Columbus Blue Jackets game, check out DTICS. They always have tickets available for a heavily reduced rate. Up in that top corner there, you'll see the Arena District. So that's the outside of Nationwide Arena. The Arena District also then, what you can't see in here is you can't see Huntington Field across, or Huntington Park across the street. But the Arena District's really fun, especially before Columbus Blue Jackets game. A couple of years ago, the Blue Jackets made it into the semifinals, and the Arena District was just crazy. They had the games live broadcast up against the arena, and there was live music and food and just a lot of people, and it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the Blue Jackets didn't get that far, but it was definitely a fun time to be in downtown Columbus. Then at the bottom, that's Map-Free Stadium, and that is our professional soccer team, the Columbus Crew. Map-Free Stadium is on 17th Avenue, which is just about 3 or 4 blocks from High Street on campus. So this is really easy for you to get to. And again, you can get tickets to these games through DTICS. The Columbus Crew is, the fans of the Columbus Crew are so dedicated, and they're so dedicated, in fact, that a few years ago, the owners of the Crew considered moving the team to a different city, and the entire city rallied around the soccer team, and the owners decided to keep the team here in Columbus, like I said, just a few blocks from campus. So if you've never seen a Major League Soccer game, this is a lot of fun, and again, you can get those discounted tickets through DTICS. Cameron, do you have an experience that you were telling me about attending sporting events in Columbus?
Yeah, so I've actually been to both Clippers and Crew games, but I'll talk about the Clippers game that I went to. So one summer, one of my student organizations, Student Alumni Council, was hosting a conference here for groups like ours around the country. And so we wanted to kind of showcase our city to the guests that we were hosting. And so we took them all down to the Arena District for dinner. I don't remember, I think it was a place called Zappy, something like that, that we ate at in the Arena District. And then we actually just walked right over around Sunset to Huntington Park where the Clippers play. And what I think is so cool about that stadium is it has a really fun neighborhood feel similar to Wrigley Field, which is kind of what I'm accustomed to being from Chicago. So I thought that was a really nice touch, and it's a really clean, really modern stadium. So there's lots to do inside. And one of the coolest things I think about Clippers games is that every once in a while they'll do Dime a Dog nights where you can go and you still have to pay full price for your ticket, but you can get 10-cent hot dogs. So it's a great outing, relatively cheap, and you get to just kind of enjoy being outside, the weather, hanging out with friends, and good baseball.
Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, I definitely recommend Dime a Dog night, but don't get too ahead of yourself. Even though they're only 10 cents, you fill up pretty quick. So don't set too lofty goals. All right, so let's talk about getting outside. In addition to a lot of great restaurants and sporting venues and concerts you can go see, there's also a lot of green space. A lot of questions that we get asked from people who've never visited Columbus before is, what's the weather like? So Columbus is what's called a humid continental climate. Basically, that means we have hot summers and cold, dry winters. We do get snow, but we don't get a lot of snow. So we see about 30 inches of snow annually. And that's approximately 30 snowy days a year. So not to worry, we are not in that Great Lakes snow belt like some of our northern neighbors. We typically see snow January, February, occasionally March, maybe a couple of flurries here and there, but it's really not too bad. To get an idea of your average seasonal temperatures, so January and February, again, that's when we see the majority of our snow. That's when it tends to get a little colder. And so those temperatures average from lows in the 20s to more highs in the higher 30s, low 40s. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think we have a gorgeous spring. That picture there is a picture of Schiller Park in German Village as the tulips are blooming. So in March and April, it does get a little colder at night. We see more like the mid 30s, but on warmer days, we see it in mid 60s. And we've had a couple of really pretty sunny and warm days here that have been enjoyable since we've all been cooped up in our homes. Summer tends to be very hot and humid. So we do see lows more around mid 70s, but highs more around to the high 80s, sometimes even in the 90s. And then we do have nice September and Octobers. We see those temperatures there, mid 40s to mid 60s there. For those wondering about snowfall, again, we don't tend to get too much snow, maybe less than 30 inches for the entire year. We do tend to see our first snow towards the end of November, beginning of December. All right, so now that you know what to wear when you go outside, let's talk about all the different ways that you can enjoy the outdoors in Columbus. So even though we are a big city, we have over 353 metro parks and over 12,000 acres of green space. So this picture here is actually just one of the examples of some of the green space. This is Genoa Park, which is just south of downtown. That river there is the Scioto River. And one of my favorite things that happens at Genoa Park is something called Screen on the Green. They put up a very large movie screen, and then people bring their picnics and blankets, and they sit on this big green space on this hill here, and then they broadcast movies to the big screen, usually kind of more crowd pleasers. Last year I saw The Wedding Planner and Harry Potter there, so that's definitely something for you to check out. Couple of other green spaces here. So up in that right-hand corner, that's the Franklin Park Conservatory. That is actually our oldest botanical garden, and that's just south of downtown on High Street. That building that you see there was actually built in the 1890s. In Franklin Park Conservatory, there's over 400 different kinds of plants. The nice thing about Franklin Park Conservatory, it's a great place to go in January and February because the majority of the greenhouses are covered and warm inside. So especially when you're tired of seeing things like snow and gray skies, it's nice to warm up in there. Again, you can also get discounted tickets to the Franklin Park Conservatory through DTIC, so definitely check that out. Over on the left side of the screen, that's Hocking Hills. So that's not actually in Columbus, but that's about 50 miles outside of the city. And it's a large park. It's known for its waterfalls and hiking. So that would definitely be a day trip, something where you might need to rent one of those zip cars or find a friend that does have a car on campus, but definitely gorgeous scenery and a great way to get outdoors. I know that some of our panelists also have some great experiences in the different parks in Columbus. So Maria, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, of course. So before I jump into it, I just want to say something that's really appealing about Ohio State is the fact that you've got this like separate campus area, and then you've got downtown Columbus right there, which is that urban feel. But then when we're talking about getting outside, there's so many different opportunities for you to really just go outside, go on a walk, go on a bike ride. And so if you look down there at the bottom with the skyline of Columbus, that's the Scioto Mile. It's extremely popular within the city. And I know for me personally, being a Columbus native, I've been able to see it evolve. That construction of the Scioto Mile right next to the river, those paths and green space, started in 2010, and now it has 147 acres of this plush green space. And there's a bike path that goes from that Scioto Mile area all the way to campus. So I know especially right now, amid the stay-at-home order in the state of Ohio, I'm personally on campus living in an off-campus apartment, and I've been easily able to ride my bike, get outside, and so I'll get on the Scioto Mile bike path near my apartment on campus and ride my bike all the way downtown. So it's a great way to get outside. Another area I want to point out is in the very top middle picture, you'll see a lot of people sitting on the grass. That's Goodale Park. It's a very historical park to the Columbus area. During the Civil War, it also was a station area for 8,000 Union troops. Now it is another one of the amazing public parks. It's home to our Com Festival that happens there, as well as other festivals or events during the summer, the fall, and the spring. And it's in Victorian Village, which is a walkable distance from campus and right next to the Short North as well.
Awesome. All right, so we're talking about this whole webinar. We've been talking about things to fill your time and really enhance your experience during your undergrad, but we also want to talk about how Columbus can be your launch pad to start your career after your time at Ohio State. So Columbus is obviously a big city. There are 14 Fortune 500 companies in the city of Columbus alone. There's also national brand headquarters that you would recognize for names like Abercrombie and Fitch, L Brands, Scott, Lawn, that you would recognize and also have career opportunities for. The state of Ohio government is also situated there right here on the right-hand bottom of the screen. That's the Ohio State House. So we do see a lot of students that get involved in the, and have internships and then careers later on in government just right down the street here. There are a lot of internship and career opportunities that are available to you through Ohio State. These companies know that Ohio State has a plethora of students and accredited students that would be great candidates to fill these internships and these career opportunities. And so they work directly with the university to post these jobs. There's career fairs. Definitely speak to your advisor within your major. They can talk to you just about different opportunities and ways that you can look into these internships. I know that each one of our panelists have also had experiences with internships and careers in Columbus. So Cameron, do you want to kick us off and talk about your experience?
Sure. So the professional opportunities in Columbus are actually one of my favorite parts of going to school in the city. And oftentimes you can intern even during the year on top of being a full-time student. So for me, I'm essentially interested in public policy professionally. I have friends who have been able to serve as pages at the State House downtown, assisting state level legislators and get really valuable experience. There are also several US congressional offices that many of my friends, including my roommate Ben, have been able to work for. And personally, I worked for the federal government at the Defense Logistics Agency in Whitehall, which is just right next door to Columbus. And I was able to get about a year of experience and begin earning even years towards a federal pension later, all while still being in the city of Columbus, doing contracting work for the Department of Defense. So there's certainly lots and lots of opportunities in the city of Columbus.
Rebecca, do you want to go ahead and share your experience?
Yeah, so I this past summer, I actually worked with a company called Clean Turn. They are a for-profit cleaning and construction company, but they actually have a social justice mission of hiring people that are trying to turn their lives around. So this was fulfilling part of my nonprofit management requirements. And I actually found them through a conference in the Ohio Union at Ohio State, and I got to work one-on-one with the CEO and different upper management. It was really an amazing experience seeing kind of all levels of the company, and it actually did help me realized that I would like to open up my own nonprofit one day. So it was honestly incredible and a total accident that I found them. So Columbus really does a great job of reaching out to their students to find us.
Yeah, and going off of what Rebecca and Cameron were saying, that's one of the great things about the city of Columbus is that our students, as you can tell, they don't have to go away for any internships or jobs for like a semester at a time. They can just stay right here and continue with classes. And I know one of my really good friends, Regina, she's a civil engineer, and during the fall semester had an internship with a construction company in Columbus that's currently working on the project for the new Columbus Crew Soccer Stadium. So that was a hands-on internship experience she was able to have. And I know for me personally, being an education major, the city of Columbus is very appealing because I'm able to be in different environmental and different community settings for schools, whether that be rural schools or urban or suburban. It's all right here within Columbus. So it's extremely valuable what Columbus has to offer. No matter what your major is, there's something here for everyone to kind of gain that career experience in all of that areas.
Thank you. All right, so as we wrap up today, the panelists and I really want to talk to you about things that are very uniquely Columbus. So things that you can only find in Columbus that really make us special. I'll go ahead and kick it off. So up in the top left-hand corner, that is our Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. We are internationally recognized for all the work that we do in leading ecology research and conservationism. That is north of the city in Powell. That specific picture there is from the Africa exhibit, which they built this giant exhibit that actually looks like the Sahara, sub-Sahara plains. And so just a really great resource to have in our own backyard. There are events like Boo at the Zoo and Wildlights during the holidays. And again, like I've been saying this whole time, check out DTICS because there are discounted tickets to the Columbus Zoo. Then on the bottom, this is my absolute favorite event that goes on in Columbus. This is Highball Halloween. So you can't really tell because there's so many people, but that's actually High Street in the Short North. And so the Short North Association shuts down High Street in the Short North. Typically, it's the weekend before Halloween, and it's a giant Halloween ball. There's live music, there's food, there's costumes, there's high fashion shows. It's just so much fun, and there's so much creativity, and it's really one of my favorite times of year. Cameron, do you want to go ahead and start your experience?
Yeah, sorry. So one of my favorite places in Columbus is the Book Loft shown in the top right. So this is also in German Village, which you've heard about already. But the Book Loft, it might not look like much on the outside, but it is 32 rooms of books. Which some people like, that's my worst nightmare. Me, that's like where I want to spend all day. And so this place is incredible. You literally need a map to get through it all. And you can find used books for discounted prices. There's usually always some kind of crazy sale going on. You can find everything from bestsellers to self-help to like books for class. And I think one part that's really cool about the Book Loft is that it's an independent business. So it's certainly easy to order from Amazon and just not leave your house, and 2 days later, there it is. But I think with the appeal of the Book Loft is you get to go out and see a really cool part of the city, and also support local residents. So definitely do check that out.
Thanks, Cameron. Rebecca, do you want to share your favorites?
Yes, so one of my favorites is the North Market. We mentioned it briefly in the beginning when we were talking about just different locations, but it's this incredible place that has 30 independently owned small businesses. It's just at the edge of the Short North downtown, and it is open Mondays through Saturdays. So it's just an amazing opportunity, whether you're wanting fresh produce or just any type of food. Sometimes I've gone there and I've gotten, a Belgian waffle and then also sushi because I had really weird cravings. And there are just all these different locations. It's a really great chance to kind of walk around, get to know more of the community, and hang out with your friends. Within within the North Market, there's also something called Jenny's, which is also several different locations around the country, but it is one of the, it's named the 5th top ice cream in the world. They were locally started and it's absolutely incredible. So if I'm in the North Market, I go there, or if I'm just, if I have my parents visiting for a weekend and we're going somewhere in the short north, I definitely make them get me ice cream from there. It's absolutely delicious. They have so many of these specialty flavors that I would highly recommend you go multiple times. And then beyond that, for more of an experience rather than a food and location, is our Pride Festival. Every summer, I have always heard amazing things about it, but this past summer was actually my first opportunity to go while I was doing my internship downtown. It happens the second week of June in the Short North, and Columbus is actually recognized nationally for its large LGBTQ plus community. So it's just so amazing for us to be able to recognize all of that and celebrate everybody and have all of these different companies and programs and groups support and go into this parade. It's so fun to see the community just come together and dress up and have some fun.
Great. And then the next couple things we want to talk about, let's start here with the gallery hop. So those are the 2 pictures that you see on the left of your screen, people kind of walking around. That is in the Short North. So the gallery hop is a really unique event. It takes place the second week of June, and it goes on to being like wrong one. First Saturday of every month in the Short North area. And so there's a lot of live music that takes place here. So like we've been talking about earlier throughout this session, the Short North has a lot to offer, of course, with food, but during these gallery hop nights on Saturdays, you'll have musicians on the street playing live performances. The galleries themselves will stay open late, so you get to go around and walk around and see all of that. I know back in September, my roommates and I decided to go down to Lemongrass, which is a really neat restaurant in the Short North. We had some sushi, and then it was a Saturday night, so we got to just go outside of Lemongrass, walk around the Short North, and listen to some really good saxophone players, walk through all the galleries. So it's a great way, again, to experience Columbus. Something that's really special about those gallery hops is that they're supporting a lot of Ohio-based artists and musicians and restaurants, and so you can definitely feel that like passion and excitement for the city of Columbus and all of the amazing people within our community. If you look the picture all the way on the right, that's COSI. So COSI stands for the Center of Science and Industry. This is a hands-on science museum, and it's really has become an important part of Columbus for all ages. It's not just for kids. I know I've definitely enjoyed it. My friends have enjoyed it being in college. They have a partnership with Ohio State where students can get discount tickets through that DTICS program, but also we have the University Housing on campus hosts an annual COSI After Dark. So students are able to go to COSI for free with their families. And I know that's very popular for students. Things you can expect in COSI, those interactive exhibits. The Titanic exhibit comes almost every other year, where you get a card and you're a passenger on that Titanic and you walk through this exhibit. There's other exhibits that stay there the whole year, like the Life exhibit, where you learn about the human body. So just there's something there for everyone, and it's a really neat museum right here in Columbus.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so we have reached the end of our webinar. Again, obviously a webinar is can never take the place of the visit to Columbus, but we hope we've given you enough of insight about being in Columbus to help you see how it can really enhance your time at Ohio State. Before we finish up here, I just want to finish up with just one thing that you want to tell future Ohio State students about living in Columbus, and just tips and tricks, and I'll go ahead and kick it off. But one of my things is to follow. There's so much going on in Columbus and so many unique things. And my suggestion to you is follow social media and follow things like Columbus Alive and Columbus Underground. There's easily 12 or 13 things happening each weekend, things like midnight farmers markets happening under the stars, and shows and poetry readings, and just really great opportunities that are so unique to Columbus. So really try to branch out and follow those. Those are great tools to find where those things are happening. Cameron, do you want to share your advice?
Yeah, I would say schedule some time each month to get off campus and just go try something new. There's so much always happening on Ohio State's campus that you could stay there and not leave for 4 years and have an incredible experience. But there is so much happening beyond the borders of campus. And I will say now, as someone whose time on campus is coming to an end, I regret not doing that sooner because there's so many cool local businesses. And it doesn't always have to cost money or be expensive. There's so much to do for free or for a low cost. Even if it's just walking through the parks outside. So definitely do set aside some time to go do that.
Awesome. Maria, you want to go ahead and share?
Yeah, my advice to you, similar to what like kind of Cameron was saying, is really just immerse yourself in the Columbus community. I'm sure you all have like such extreme pride of your hometown and like your city, and that's how we are here in Columbus, and we just really want to be able to welcome you. So I encourage you as a student at Ohio State to figure out how you can get involved in that community. And I know that once you get to college, like you might have a pretty busy schedule, and I agree with Cameron, like blocking off a part of the month where you can go explore is great. And something else you can do is there's a lot of student organizations on campus at Ohio State that connect our students to the community of Columbus. And so I recommend like you look into those as well if that's something you want to do, and that way you're able to really experience all these different areas of the city, not just on your own but with other Ohio State students who share similar interests to you.
Awesome.
Okay, I would say everyone has basically taken all of my points, but just to emphasize, I guess, the end of what Cameron said earlier about price, don't think about money holding you back completely from getting into the city. There's so much to do that does not involve money at all, totally free, and that DTIX really does help a lot. It's cut some costs in half, and it is a great way to still go to all these really good restaurants at a lower price, and go to the candle lab where you can make candles, or just all these amazing places, or even just like go and walk around the city and see all these nice parks and the water and the buildings and the short north, everything. Don't let the price stop you from at least exploring.
Awesome, thank you. So again, if you have any more questions or you feel like your question didn't get answered here, we ask that you reach out to us and we can definitely help you. Ask a Buckeye at osu.edu. You can also call us Monday through Friday, 614-292-3980. We also worked with our partner office, Experience Columbus, to help put these ideas together. And we work with them throughout the whole school year about exciting opportunities for our students to experience Columbus. So you can visit them. They've got a great listing of all the different things that you can do in Columbus, www.experiencecolumbus.com. And then there's also a great Columbus video on that landing page, which is where you signed up for this webinar. That's the link to that down there. But if you want to get even more excited about Columbus, Experience Columbus put together a great video, just kind of a recap. We didn't have time to show it here, but a recap of all the things that you can do in Columbus. So we've got a few more minutes left. Caitlin, if you want to take over and if there's any questions that students are wanting to be asked.
Hi, yeah. So the main thing, getting at a couple questions, I know especially for students like mine on the West Coast that are traveling kind of far distance to visit. We did have a question about kind of hotels you might recommend, and then if you can speak to campus and the city safety, I'd love to kind of address two of those big things, but otherwise we've been able to cover quite a lot of information. So those are the two big questions that we've had from folks.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and take the hotel question because I also, even though I've lived in Columbus for 10 years, have a lot of out-of-town family, so I can certainly answer that. And then I will pass off the safety question to our panelists. But the university actually maintains what's called the Hospitality District website. I believe it's www.uhd.com. And those are going to be a list of all of the hotels that are with or close to Ohio's campus. And there's a nice variety there. So with cost and then location and that kind of thing. But I would recommend checking there if you're looking for a place to stay when you're coming from out of town. And then do one of our panelists want to jump in and talk about safety on campus or safety in the city?
Cameron, you want to
Sure.
go ahead?
Yeah, I'll see what I can get and let you pick up the rest. Yeah, so I guess I'll speak to living off campus. So in general, the university is very active in making sure that our students are safe, whether they're living on or off campus. And so one of those resources, we do have emergency blue light poles all over campus. We also have some off campus. And our university police department, OSU PD, works very closely with the city of Columbus to make sure that they're tending to students' needs. We also have something called Buckeye Alerts, which is an emergency notification service that all students are automatically enrolled in. So whenever something happens that you need to know about in the campus vicinity, you'll receive an alert about it to your phone, and it is free to enroll in. So parents, families, guardians can also opt into that as well. Personally, I'll say that I have felt pretty safe living in the city of Columbus, but I will say that it's important to be careful, to be smart, because just like living in any other city, certainly something unfortunate might happen, but I would say there's a lot of resources to help keep you safe and to ensure that you have someone to turn to in the event that something unfortunate does happen.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think in general, just when it comes to, especially because some of our students may be moving from a smaller city, like Cameron said, just being smart, and Ohio State definitely equips their students with resources to make safe choices. So things like that Lyft partnership we talked about, they encourage ride sharing, not walking along. You'll definitely see presence on campus from campus security, as well as presence by City of Columbus Police within the city. So, like Cameron said, you definitely have to make good choices, but Ohio State is really committed to making sure our students are safe, both on and off campus, and really provides them with the tools to do that. All right, well, we're going to stick around here and just answer a couple more questions. A reminder that this is being recorded, and so it's going to be captioned, and then it'll be available for replay on that Buckeye Bound virtual website if you did miss any part of this today. So otherwise, if you've got all your questions answered, we appreciate you taking this time to be with us, and we hope to see you on campus in the fall.